Friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswarji, beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yoganandaji, saints of all religions, beloved Swamiji, we humbly bow to all you. Divine Mother, inspire us to be your joyful and humble instruments, ever willing to serve thee selflessly, expand our consciousness, awaken us from this dream, we yearn for thee. Om.
When I awake, I'll see thy face. When I awake, I'll see thy light. When I awake, I'll see thy face. When I awake, I'll see thy light. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy light. Hand in hand we're dancing together in thy light. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy light. Hand in hand we're dancing together in thy light. Dancing together in thy light. Dancing together in thy light. When I awake, I'll end all sorrows. When I awake, I'll find thy joy. When I awake, I'll end all sorrows. When I awake, I'll find thy joy. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy joy. Hand in hand we're dancing together in thy joy. Dancing together in thy joy. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy joy. Hand in hand we're dancing together in thy joy. 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 When I awake, I'll end all fears. When I awake, I'll know thy love. When I awake, I'll end all fears. When I awake, I'll know thy love. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy light. Hand in hand we're dancing together in thy love. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy light. Hand in hand we're dancing together in thy light. Hand in hand we're dancing together in thy light. Dancing together in thy light. When I awake, I'll see thy face. When I awake, I'll see thy light. When I awake, I'll see thy face. When I awake, I see thy light. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy light. Hand in hand we're dancing together, dancing together in thy light. Dancing together in thy light. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy light. Hand in hand we're dancing together, dancing together in thy light. Dancing together in thy light. When I awake, I'll end all sorrows. When I awake, I'll find thy joy. When I awake, I'll end all sorrows. When I awake, I'll find thy joy. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy joy. Hand in hand we're dancing together, dancing together in thy joy. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy joy. Hand in hand we're dancing together, dancing together in thy joy. Dancing together in thy joy. Dancing together in thy joy. Hand in hand we're dancing together. Hand in hand we're dancing together. Hand in hand we're dancing together. Dancing together in thy joy. Dancing together in thy joy. When I awake, I'll end all fears. When I awake, I'll know thy love. When I awake, I'll end all fears. When I awake, I'll know thy love. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy love. Hand in hand we're dancing together. 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 Dancing together in thy love. Dancing together in thy love. Hand in hand we're dancing together. Dancing together in thy love. Dancing together in thy love.
Now let's meditate together. Sit up straight, shoulders back, chest up, palms up, and at the juncture of the hips and the stomach. Feet flat on the floor. And let's inhale and tense the body in a wave. Vibrate every muscle, relax and throw the breath out. Do that twice more. And now completely relax the body. Relax the limbs, the hands, the arms, the shoulders. Relax the neck, relax your face. Concentrate at the point between the eyebrows and the breath. As you breathe in, inhale light, energy, and joy into every cell of your being. And as your breath goes out in an exhalation, let go of all fear, all tension, all anxiety. Breathe in light, exhale darkness. Breathe in love, exhale fear. Breathe in good health, exhale illness. Feel that you are a body of light and that you're one with God in this light. Gaze deeply at the point between the eyebrows and call to God there. Divine Mother, reveal thyself. Reveal thyself as love, as light, as joy, and peace. And then listen very carefully for her response in your heart. Her response will surely come if you listen. You meditate for about 5 minutes.
Good morning. This reading is from Whispers from Eternity by Paramahansa Yogananda. And to begin with, these are Yogananda's words. There are 3 Bibles from which I draw my inspiration. The Christian Bible, the Hindu Bhagavad Gita, and my Whispers from Eternity, which were given to me by God. And this is a short excerpt from the introduction to Whispers, entitled Demands for Developing Cosmic Consciousness. O you who have come to the portals of this book of prayer demands, pass not by in haste. Enter and bathe in the sacred pool of God's love, hidden in the still, deep waters of meditation. Each thought-empowered word shall then wear for you a bright, flaming garment. Each word shall be a guiding torchlight in the procession of your prayer thoughts as you march toward God. Each word will spread light to illumine the path of some lost brother on the way. Each word sung will sing a song that God Himself has sung, revealing some lost gem of truth. Each word torch will illumine some dark corner in your mind. Each thought will pour forth a silent sermon of sacred bliss. Each feeling note will reverberate with the presence of His love everywhere, and will wake sleeping souls to hear His ever blissful voice summoning you and all mankind, come home. And the reading entitled Endless Thrills of Delight. I attune my life with Thine. Now my life has become a long, unbroken inspiration. Thy fountain of bliss refreshes and delights me night and day. Whether I be wakeful, fast asleep, or dreaming fondly of Thee. Oh, what has become of me? Delight on overwhelming delight, endless, indescribable thrills of divine delight spray unceasingly over me. O aged nectar, wine of centuries, I found Thee at last, and will taste of Thy sweetness forever, forever, forever. And this next reading is from the Essence of Self-Realization. When Swami first came to Yogananda in 1948, he was just a young man of 22. And after about a year and a half in the Master's ashram, Master began to call out to Walter, who we called Swami, Walter, write that down. I've never said those words before. And he would often say during the time that Swami then was with him, write that down, write that down. And so we're very fortunate to have this essence of self-realization which Swami Kriyananda has compiled from his notes of many, many years there with Master. And it was a challenge for Swami because he didn't know shorthand. And he said of his own penmanship, it was daunting even for him to read. And yet he was absolutely amazed and thrilled that Master gave him the gift of this ability to remember his words and his vibration. And so this is drawn from the chapter of Essence of Self-Realization, the true purpose of life. These few years of your earth life are just so many seconds compared to the eons before you were born, and to the endless reaches of time still to come, long after you leave this world. Why be identified with this brief material interlude? These are not your body, your family, your country. You're only a visitor here. Your homeland is infinity. Your true lifespan is eternity. Swami loved to tell this delightful story. It was of a saint that was coming back to his ashram. And the disciples in horror noticed that his back was bleeding, and he said, "Oh, the boys were having so much fun. They were throwing rocks." Well, he was in such a state of bliss that he wasn't mindful of his own body. All he was mindful of was the joy of the Leela. The boys were having fun throwing rocks. He was the victim, but he was, again, so detached that for him it was just joy. God playing with God. And so for us, it's very important, really every day, that we do all that we can to remove ourselves, as Swami Kriyananda, or actually Yogananda, said. Practice being other-minded. And so we become more and more like the jnani. We're detached, as Swami Kriyananda himself said. I'm an event that I'm responsible for. And so in that way, then we are able to create this space which allows us more and more detachment from our ego, more distance from identification with this body and with this personality. And what comes of this practice is joy. The joy of meditation, the joy of Kriya Yoga, the joy of understanding that this truly is just a dream, and that we're here to play our part. As I was sharing, I believe some satsangs ago, that from a reading of Masters, that he was privileged to play both the cosmic and tragic parts in this great drama of God. And so it is with us. Some days we are playing the comic parts. Other times, seemingly the tragic parts when things are going wrong. We say the wrong thing, whatever it might be. And yet, more and more, as we distance ourselves from our own ego and from all that we think that we are, this limited experience that we're having for just a short time, then we find that God is joy. God is joy, and joy is God. Begins bit by bit to seep in. We can feel in our cells even, when we're energizing, doing our yoga postures, going about our duties, walking about. We feel His presence because it has become absolutely essential that we go deeper and deeper into this experience of who and what we really are, and that we acknowledge that we're here for just a brief time. As Swami in a recent talk said, that all of life is to prepare us for the final examination of death. And as the Master said, when death comes, all engagements are canceled. And so that's not a morbid thought, nor is it a morbid thought that the yogis, as is their practice, Master did this too. During, the wee hours of the night, midnight, would meditate in the graveyards to remind him of the impermanence of life. And so we live, of course, as we know, at this point with an inner life, we live on two levels of our being, the human level and the divine level. And more we want to tip the balance so that we become more and more divine and less preoccupied with all the various things that are constantly drawing our attention to, again, caring for this body, doing our duties. All of these things are important. We know that. We have to play our part. That's why the examples of the saints are so very, very essential. meditating on Lahiri Mahashaya, who seemingly, to some that had no idea of the depths of this great avatar, was just a family man who had worldly responsibilities. He would go to work as an accountant and do his duty. But that was just play. Lahiri Mahashaya, when he met Babaji, he did not want to come back to the city. He wanted to stay with Babaji, who, in his right mind, who had an experience that divine, would want to do anything else. But Babaji said no. Your role in this lifetime is to be a householder and to live a humble life, to act as an example for others. And what a great example he is. And so, how sweet it is, how inspiring that we have examples like Lahiri Mahashaya and then the example of renunciates as Babaji living in the Himalayas as we speak, of Master and so many others. And meditating on their lives gives us this balance that we really need, especially during these times, where we can keep our sense of humor, and at the same time, as Master said, we need to be grave, but cheerful. I remember a episode where Yogananda was with his most advanced disciple, Rajarsi Janakananda, and they were at a gathering. And at one point, this evangelist, very well-known and magnetic in her own way, began leading people, marching around the room. And it really wasn't appropriate for that particular time. And what did Master and Rajarsi do? They just looked at it. They just looked over, excuse me, at each other and smiled. Smiled with bliss. It was the Leela. That was all. There wasn't any need of judgment. They were just enjoying the play. And when we get over serious, and perhaps the veil comes over our mind and someone has upset us and we feel to judge them, what a mistake. Especially, it's a mistake because we ourselves are polluted by that drop of consciousness. And then it doesn't help that person either, because we're all linked as one by sending out those thoughts of judgment. What do we do? All we have to do is pause for a moment, catch that thought. Very important to catch these thoughts, especially any thoughts of worry and so forth. Catch it in the beginning, and then cast them out of our consciousness. Catch that thought and say, well, this person that I'm judging, let me pause for a moment and think that if I could see the full picture, not only of their present life, the full picture of all the challenges and trials that they've gone through, not to mention the past reincarnations, then I would have a clear understanding of the soul. It's the soul. I'm judging the soul. How ridiculous. Going through this masquerade of so many incarnations, including this present one. And the soul is marching on, going through, as Master talked about, 1,000,000 darknesses. And then we would find judgment. What is that? That's crazy. There's no need to judge myself or others, because until we're in that state of omnipresent bliss, we do not have the full picture. The saints do. And that's one of the many, many reasons that we love them. Because when they see us, then they see the pure soul. When they see us, they see light. As Master himself said, if you could only see what I see you all as light. And so at this time of seclusion, where we all find ourselves internationally, this is the time to go deeper in our sadhana, because this is a God-given experience, to learn the needed lessons, to go deep inside. And it may never happen again. This may be the only time where we're all in our homes, wherever we might be, to spend a little bit more time in God. And so, though we all are missing each other, we want to spend time with each other, nevertheless, again, count your blessings, skip the rest. Yogananda's most advanced disciple, very sterling advice of hers, count your blessings, skip the rest. We need to use this time wisely, to deepen our meditations, to meditate on the thought that every meditation, and this is from Yogananda, should be deeper than the last. And even as we're striving toward that lofty goal, then at least every meditation we should do all that we can, fight if necessary, casting out these random thoughts again and again, knowing that in deep meditation we have something better. We're not going to release the habits that we have, whether it's allowing thoughts to penetrate our consciousness when we're meditating, whether we're drifting through the day, unless we have something better. That's just a fact. And so what is that something better? It's joy. And that's why Swami Kriyananda said, seek God first for joy, and then for love. And as that joy begins to grow and lubricate our being, then we do not want to fall into a state of lower consciousness, because then the joy is gone. The light is out for that moment in time, and we want to turn the light back on and have that joy. And the extraordinary thing about joy is it's all about sharing. And that's why it's so sweet to meditate. When Swami left New York, took the bus many, many nights to get to Los Angeles to meet his guru, and all he cared about was to find God, which is to say, find that joy. And then to share God, to share joy with all which he did to the very, very, very last breath of his life. Roma and I were at a satsang back in, I guess it was, come to think of it, a few months before Swami left. It was, come to think of it, the Mahasamadhi satsang. And this was just again 3 months before he passed. And this was in the Pune retreat. And Swami was giving a beautiful discourse. And of course he was very, very frail, as he had been for some years. And so at one point in the satsang, he announced that he was going to sing the song. And as he sang the song, he, of course, in his younger years, had an extraordinarily beautiful voice and so vibrant. And now, in his later years, again, just months before his passing, he himself said, I'm just deaf as a post, so he couldn't hardly hear himself singing. And yet, why was he singing? Like St. Francis singing, just as he was dying on his deathbed, because he couldn't help himself. The joy propelled him to sing. And so it was Swami, he was so detached that he just felt the inspiration to sing. And he knew it wasn't the voice that he had had in his early years, but it didn't matter. The vibration that came across, of course, was so pure. And so as we go about life, it's not always that we're going to do everything perfectly, but what we can strive for is to be more and more in that pure consciousness, so that even if we make an error, say something that we want to retract, then right away we're thinking in terms of, what is my real reality? It's joy. And so let me forgive myself, forgive others perhaps, as needed as we go through our days and through this life, because we don't want to fall from that state of pure reality, that state of pure consciousness. And so as we march through life, we want to remember our purpose, because most people don't know their purpose, and they won't know their purpose even after living decade after decade. As Swamiji was saying recently in one of his talks, that here he is now in his 80s, and in this talk again, he was very, very frail. And he said, you know, most people my age, they're in a rocking chair on the front porch. And then when they go inside, they watch television, and then at nighttime they have nightmares of all of the things that they saw on television. And he said, but for me, I can't contain my enthusiasm. I've always been that way. I am that way now. My enthusiasm for sharing God. And again, his voice was very fragile. He sung the song even then. And he said, very sweetly, he said after the song was over, he said, I'm not going to apologize. You all know why. He could see before him this shining soul, but in this frail body, which in a short time he would leave. And so, with these great ones, thank God for this. They are not gone. They're with us now. And when we go through our day, we need to continue, as Master said, if you want to be happy, then simply choose to be happy. Choose the right thought. Choose the right directions. Make that choice and make it again and again. And don't be weighed down by the things that hamper us, because this karma is just a dream. Wonderful episode 2 of Master's life is when he was there in a group of people, and there was an evangelist speaking, and a Christian evangelist there in America. And at one point, she said with a very strong and commanding voice, "Get down on your knees, you're all sinners." And everyone very, very quickly obeyed, except for Master. He said he was the only one standing because he wasn't going to identify with this thought that he was a sinner, because he knew that wasn't who he was. He was the pure soul. And so it is with us. It's so very, very important to get up again and again and again and again. Swami said recently that he has known many, many, many disciples that have fallen. But they needn't, as Master said, if they would have just stayed in tune. And so that's all that we need to do. It's not that complicated. We just have to keep remembering Smriti. We keep needing to remember that what we're seeking is joy. You know, sometimes I think that I'm seeking God. I'll tell myself I'm seeking God, and then in perhaps a state where maybe my consciousness isn't that uplifted, I'll think, well, what is God? And I'll have to pause for a moment. More and more, I'm reminding myself, God, of course, has many things and many beautiful qualities, but primarily God is joy. And then I say to myself, you're seeking joy. You're seeking joy. And then I find that more quickly, then I'm able to rise above whatever is that present predicament, that present challenge. Because once we taste that joy, and we all have. Swami was speaking before a group of people at Ananda, a group of devotees, many of them spiritual aspirants. And he said, gazing out, hundreds were there. This was an Ananda village of the expanding life. He said, I see most of you as angels. And I was teasing Roma when I was remembering. I wonder if we were all thinking, I wonder if I was included in the group. I see most of you as angels. But even those that maybe were, quote unquote, perspiring angels, working on toward being angels, nevertheless, they were there. They were in the presence of a saint. They had that good karma to be there. And so if they hadn't quite made the grade, whoever it was, of being an angel at that moment, they were soon to be an angel. And that's the amazing thing about our spiritual family, that you look around. You may be in Gurgaon, you may be in America, in Europe, wherever you might be with a group of devotees, master's children, and you see, God, look at the beauty of these souls. I remember when I first came to Ananda, I saw all of these angels, truly. And I thought to myself, I certainly hope that I can join. And I was really on eggshells, you might say, for a few days until Swami, who was there at the time in his 40s, at the seclusion retreat, that first property that we got in, and we sat down in the office, and I was hoping that I could stay. I was dreaming of becoming a member, as it turned out. I became a member some months later. But I was thinking, oh, if only I could stay. And so Swami sat down with me on the couch there in the office at the seclusion retreat, and we were talking. And I told him that I was just in love with Ananda, and I was so happy to be in his presence. And I hope that I could stay. And he said, you can. And wow, I can remember that moment to this day, as we also remember those moments when we picked up that book, or a friend told us about perhaps a lecture where Swami was going to be talking, and we went, and our life was changed. We have to remember these times because these are the honeymoon periods. And as Master said, and as I've said before too, as he counseled, if we could be in that honeymoon period, if we could remain in that state when we first got on the path, we would find God very, very quickly, avoiding, as he said, the slogging middle ground. We would be there very, very quickly if we could stay in that state of grace, which is there available to us at all times. And we need to test it. Any time, especially when we are being challenged, go deep inside, take that moment, and you will find that God and Guru are there. Of course they are. Yogananda said, I reside in your heart. Can't get any closer than that. And so, as we move through these incredible times, these unprecedented times that Yogananda and Swami predicted, then we need to do everything we can to be joyous, to be selfless, to be compassionate, to be courageous, to be fearless, all of these things and so many, many more, because we are in a position where we really can help. Strong people are able to help the weak people, like the lifeguard who saves the person who's drowning. We, as master's disciples, as spiritual aspirants, are strong, a strength that has been brought over from many incarnations and also cultivated in this incarnation. And so with this gift of grace, this gift of strength, we need to put our own little things aside, our little desires, whatever they might be, and know that God will take care of us, that God will protect us, that everything that He does in our lives comes from a loving hand, comes from joy, in order for us to grow spiritually. So it's a joy to be with you this morning, and we want now to turn it over to Roma, who will say our affirmation.
Before we say the affirmation, I'd like us to have a moment of silence, and then we're going to listen to a song of Swamiji's. This is called Through Many Lives.
Through many lives, I've drunk the cup of laughter. No man could tell the pleasures I have known. The stars in the endless sky, if one could count, would come to billions. Yet as vast as are their numbers, so many years I've wandered far from you. Yet as vast as are their numbers, so many years I've wandered far from you. Through many lives, I've drunk the cup of sorrow. No man could tell the bitter tears I've shed. The drops in the endless sea, if one could count, would come to billions. Yet as vast as are the numbers, so many years I've wandered far from you. Through countless lives, I've sought your cup of sweetness, found other cups, yet thirsted evermore. The streams in the hills of time all found their way into a desert. Every noon of bright fulfillment, ere many hours did sink to evening gloom. Every noon of bright fulfillment, ere many hours did sink to evening gloom. I long for you in summer and in winter, only for you my heart thirsts day and night. I've learned that the sweetest songs ears ever heard were but your echo. Lord, at last, fill me completely, for nevermore I'd wander far from you. Lord, at last, fill me completely, for nevermore I'd wander far from you.
Now let's affirm together our affirmation that we do every week with all of Ananda to bring light into this world. So close your eyes, concentrate deeply at the point between the eyebrows, and with all of your energy, all of your love, all of your enthusiasm, let's affirm together. God's light is within me and around me.
God's light is
With the sword of faith in my hand,
with the sword of faith.
with the love of God in my heart. I am a warrior of light. I join my brothers and sisters everywhere to overcome fear with faith, hatred with love, and disease with health. Let us fill this world with God's light. God's light is within me and around me. With the sword of faith in my hand, with the love of God in my heart, I am a warrior of light. I join my brothers and sisters everywhere to overcome fear with faith, hatred with love, and disease with health. Let us fill the world with God's light. And now in a whisper, God's light is within me and around me. With the sword of faith in my hand, with the love of God in my heart, I am a warrior of light. I join my brothers and sisters everywhere to overcome fear with faith, hatred with love, and disease with health. Let us fill the world with God's light. Now silently, with deep devotion, God's light is within me and around me. With the sword of faith in my hand, with the love of God in my heart, I am a warrior of light. I join my brothers and sisters everywhere to overcome fear with faith, hatred with love, and disease with health. Let us fill the world with God's light. Now let's take a moment and fill the world with God's light. See souls everywhere, filled with God's healing light, His power, His unconditional love. Visualize this world filled with peace and harmony. See every soul connected to God within. See light shimmering in all of God's creation. Every living thing filled with light. Every plant, every animal, all the waters, the air, everything shimmering with God's healing power, His light. And see God's children everywhere, filled with this light. See yourselves filled with this light. And together, let us send this healing power of love and Master's blessings out to the world in friendship, unconditional love, and healing. Let's pray together. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all Thy children. Manifest Thy healing presence in all bodies, in all minds, and in all souls. Go out with joy.